Hello, wonderful people, and welcome back to my channel. Before we get started, did you hit that subscribe button? Did you also hit that bell to enable notifications so that you know when a new video is up? If not, now is your time to go do that, because I'd love to have you join this little corner of the internet. Alright, another year is in the books, and to be honest, I am not too sad about putting 2025 in my rearview mirror and focusing on what's ahead. So, here's to manifesting a better 2026. Alright, I'm not gonna bore you with a ton of small talk. We've already done enough of that. It's time to move on. Let's get into what we're all here for today, and that is chatting about, drumroll please, the fourth book in the 3 Seconds series, Torn Between Times. And we are going to be getting into it. So, as I did with the books 1 through 3 chat, which again, go watch if you haven't already, there is going to be some spoilers that are going to happen throughout this video. So if you don't want anything to get spoiled for you, this is your time to log off. And it's been great having you here. Sad to see you go, but I understand. For those of you who are not so worried about the spoilers, let's get into it, shall we? Alright, so I just briefly mentioned that I talked about the first 3 books in one video, but this book, book 4, Torn Between Times, how many names can I come up with it, is getting its own video. I'm giving it its justice. I'm also not playing catch up anymore, so that is a big reason for this separate video for it. And I just have to say, as I'm talking here and thinking about this book, it is wild to me that we are almost at the end of this main series. We have one more book to go after this one, and that's it. And then maybe we see if there's other adventures that pop up in the future. I know I've talked about doing some spin-offs and doing the first book from Lou and Warwick's perspective, but we're getting to the end here, and let me tell you, this ride just gets a little more bumpy, so buckle up, and here we go. So like the previous 2 books, Torn Between Times picks up right where Whispers of Moments left off. So at the end of Whispers of Moments, we have this introduction to this new character, and I'm going to go ahead and read that last page. So if you haven't read Whispers of Moments yet, don't keep watching. There's so many spoilers that are about to happen. Anyways, so ending of Whispers of Moments, I'm going to read the last page. Alright, I'm going to read the second to last page and like the last 6 lines on the very last page because it's not a lot on the last page. On the last night of the week, we all converged at Lou's to enjoy a meal out of the house. This was the first time I had been back to the pizza place since Lou wouldn't let me come back to work with the threat of whoever attacked Warwick still out there. Much to my dismay, Warwick had agreed to this arrangement. When we were hanging out at the tables we pushed together in the middle of the restaurant, I looked at Lou. "Anyone asking for me?" "Oh, everyone," Lou laughed. "All of my customers prefer you to wait on them than me. Work can back me up on that." Warwick chuckled at that, bringing his beer to his lips for a long drink. I glanced down at the table, taking in the scene of my friends laughing too. We were so relaxed, finally able to enjoy a break from the chaos. Every now and then a customer would come in to pick up a to-go order, and Lou would take care of them. A couple of people filtered in for a late dinner, but once they had food on their table, Lou was back to hanging out with us. The door opened right before closing, with one final customer hoping to get something before the door got locked. Lou glanced in that direction. "Hey buddy, we're close." He stopped before he could get the rest of the word out and immediately stiffened. Lou slowly rose out of his chair. I studied the man slowly making his way over, instantly recognizing him as the one wearing the baseball cap. But this time, he wasn't wearing it. There was something familiar about his features and the way he carried himself, yet I couldn't place it. It was almost as if I had seen him before. When I caught a glimpse of the tattoo on his arm, I knew where I had seen him before. The pictures on Warwick's desk back in Sean's world. Yet, I felt like that wasn't the only place I remembered him from. Before Warwick could turn around, the mystery man clapped a hand on his shoulder, asking in a familiar British accent, "Is there room at this table for family?" So, when I say that book 4 picks up right where Whispers of Moments left off, I'm not kidding. Let's take a look at how book 4 starts. I'll read you the first page. Warwick's face paled to a shade I didn't think was possible. I glanced over to Lou, who kept his eyes trained on Warwick's mysterious family member. Everyone else was watching very carefully, not daring to make a sound. The new man clapped his hand on Warwick's shoulder again, chuckling, before moving to pull up a chair. Before he settled into it, he made a big show of pulling off his leather jacket, revealing more than just the one tattoo I recognized from the photo. There was a whole sleeve of wolf-themed tattoos covering his arm and continuing across his chest. The white V-neck stood no chance of hiding his ink. He leaned back, spreading his legs and resting one of his hands on the back of Warwick's chair. He looked at each of us, his gaze lingering a little longer on me before he turned his focus to Warwick. Well, are you going to introduce me, brother? I whipped my head around to Lou, mouthing, "Brother?" Lou just shook his head. I didn't need him to say anything for me to know he had no idea Warwick had a brother, nor had he seen Warwick like this before. Pure fear was a rare expression for Warwick. "Everyone," Warwick quietly started. He cleared his throat to shake whatever had a hold over him. "This is Azriel, my brother. Az, you have Joe and Bev at the end there. That's Jenny across from Lou, and this is Val." So, now that we have this grand reveal, I just want to call something out. We know that Val has a type, right? Like, she is into these guys that are brooding and dark and mysterious. Yeah, well, it applies to Az as well. I mean, it really should come as no surprise, knowing Val's habits and choices, that she dated Warwick's brother. I mean, this man is tall, dark, and handsome, but he also just happens to be the one who's behind the war on Earth, and he's the one that Warwick is trying to find a way to take him out. What do we know about Warwick's brother? Well, we know that Warwick is incredibly smart and calculating and is usually one step ahead. The only time Warwick isn't like that is when it comes to Az. And so this is why we've seen Warwick feeling the pressure to be on top of his game throughout the series, why he is so focused on all of these things, trying to find a way to stop the war. Warwick is putting all this pressure on himself because he knows that he is probably the only one who can put a stop to Az. And Az is one who is very measured, very calculating in his pursuit of power. I want to circle back to the relationship between Val and Az for a moment, because this is a romantasy, and I would be remiss if I didn't give these characters' history a moment in this video. So in the beginning, Az very quickly reminds Val of their relationship that they had. And it turns out Val has completely blocked him from her mind. She just didn't let herself remember this relationship, didn't give it space, none of that. Of course, when he mentions their relationship, that opens a floodgate of things. And Val is not very happy about it. We do find out why later on, but she has her reasons. Anyways, this reunion between Val and Az is not all rainbows and sunshine. In fact, it's the furthest thing from it. Az is a twisted guy. He's become very violent and will stop at absolutely nothing. And I know I've used that to describe Warwick before, but Az is on a whole new level compared to Warwick. Az puts Val through things that no person should ever have to experience. And I do just want to take this moment, honestly, I should have done this at the beginning of the video, but I didn't. I want to say read this book with caution. It is by far the darkest book in this series, and I want to reiterate the trigger warning that I have in the beginning of the book here. There are themes of sexual violence and assault, so please take care of yourself. If it's too much, it's okay to put the book down. It's okay. I just really want you to take care of yourself and do what you need to do. On that note, Az tries to leverage his past relationship with Val. There's something else going on there, though. It's almost as if Az is trying to grasp at something to ground himself in his relentless pursuit for power. This pursuit of power leads the group to their next world, by the way. Warwick has one last shot to bolster his army before he mounts his final attack against his brother, and he needs to get as much power as he can. So why not go to the witches. Warwick has warned Val that the place they're about to go to is not the best, but he wants to make this trip as quick as possible because he knows that since Az has finally revealed himself, the clock is ticking and they don't have a lot of time before Az makes his big move. Although, once they get into this new world, it almost seems as if Warwick's warning isn't enough. This place is cold, dark, and desolate. There is a constant blizzard, and the group is honestly feeling miserable because of the weather. Not only that, but the people in this world keep their heads down, they keep to themselves. There's just a general air of heaviness hanging about in the air. It's not long before Az shows his face either, and that leads to suspicions that he has beat Warwick at getting the witches on his side. And it's here too that things really start to spiral for the group. Things are happening so quickly, and there's definitely this feeling that the stakes are higher. There's a lot more to lose now, and there's this just huge pressure with Az being present. You know, you have a face to put with the person behind all of the death and destruction going on and all of the chaos that's been happening. Now, they do eventually make their way back to Earth. I'm not going to spoil what happens in the witch world, but I will say both Warwick and Val go through very heavy trials. And I think, and my husband has also told me this brings them closer together and really does help them in their relationship. So once they're back at Earth, this is where things start clicking into place and we start really moving towards the finale. And I'm going to leave it there so I don't spoil any more than I already have. And that way you have something to look forward to in the 5th book. So I really quickly just want to give my overall thoughts on Torn Between Times. This is a fast-paced book. I think this is the fastest-paced book in the series. I know I'm probably biased with that, but I do genuinely think this is the fastest, most action-packed book so far that's out there. This happens to also be my favorite book of the series, and I know that it is the darkest and intense things happen in there, but I feel like this book brings out the gritty side of the characters. You are starting to see through some of their cracks. You are starting to see how they really approach adversity. I mean, these characters are being tested more than they ever were before, and I really did enjoy seeing the emotions that gets pulled from them as a result of these events. Yes, I know I wrote this, but here's some insight for you while I write. I let the characters take me on an adventure. I let them carry me through. So I come up with their personalities. Yes, I have plans for their dialogue and how they interact, but sometimes the book just takes me in different directions than I had originally anticipated. So that's what I mean by that. I do also feel like because it is darker and deals with some heavier themes, there is more of a relatability in terms of just how we have to handle things in life. Life is not all sunshine and rainbows and puppies. There are a lot of hard things that we experience, a lot of things that we don't want to talk about or we try to forget. And for me at least, I felt that this book was relatable. And you're probably wondering why, since it is so much darker. Why did I write this one? This was a big shift for me and a good challenge to write, but not in the sense that the characters were harder to write or the pacing was hard to keep up with, or that I was struggling with how I wanted my story mountain to play out. It was challenging in the sense of pushing me outside my comfort zone and confronting things that I have struggled with in my past. I've mentioned this before, but this book, Torn Between Times, has been incredibly healing for me to write, and I'm very happy that I did write it, even if it is darker and contains heavier themes. When I was first writing it, I remember constantly going to my husband and saying, I don't know if I should keep this in here. I don't know if I should write this. Should I put the characters through this? Would it be okay for me to write this and publish something like this? Instead of being like, yeah, whatever. He sat there and listened to my concerns, listened to me describe the scenes that I was talking about, and he just looked at me and be like, why are you thinking of cutting out? And so that would then spur some long conversations and ways to, of course, make it not as graphic, make it still that these things are happening, but not in a way that would be incredibly traumatizing for anyone to read. I know this can be really triggering for readers. It can be really hard to read. My hope is that it helps some people heal too. I also hope that it provides some validation that you are not alone in going through this fight to get some peace after going through something so traumatizing. There are people who will be patient and who will love you and support you. And one day, when the right amount of time has passed, you'll be able to start healing from those hardships and experiences. It just takes time. But trust me, you will get there. And one last thing I wanted to mention on this topic. I just want to reiterate that I want to build a community with my books that promotes healing and love. I want a place for people to go where they can feel safe. Okay, that was a little bit of a heavier conversation. I was thinking of diving into some of the discussion questions that I have on my website for this book, but I think I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. Know that I'm happy you're here and exploring a new series, and I am so beyond appreciative of your support. I would not have these books out if it were not for your support. And again, I will not take any offense if you cannot read through this book because it stirs something up that you don't want to deal with. Totally get it. I am so ecstatic that you are here and that you are giving my books a chance. And hopefully in a few months, I'll be back on here again and talking with you all for the next book chat. Oh, and if you like this video and the other ones, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Thanks for watching. See you all soon.